叶ってほしいとは思ってるんだけど、はっきり叶うとまでは保証しきれない。
Well, at least Doremi understands the importance of plausible deniability. You've got a great future as a Disney lawyer. This week's cold opener featured a soccer game with kids from the Ojamajo school and, oh geez, some kid who mastered the power of the green screen and the panning tool. Ooh, look at me, I'm going in and out of the scene. Ooh. Okay, seriously, can we stop? I'm getting a little dizzy. Obviously, that kid and his brother would become more important later, but first we cut over to the Mahodo, where business was a little slow because of...
お客さん来ないね。不景気やさかいしゃあないわ。
Okay, seriously, how is this show from 1999 remaining so damn topical? Of course, pandemic economies meant little to kids like the one from the cold opener. This kid's name was Misaki, and he was interested in their wish-granting charm. Let me guess, you want to become Tentomon's partner again after they replaced you twice. So, Mini Izzy ended up picking a panda charm Doremi made that he mistook for a soccer ball because I guess he's not a genius hacker yet. Like, seriously, that's legit one of Doremi's bear-looking charms, so I don't know how you can mistake it for a ball you're supposed to kick. And as if this kid wasn't already a little annoying, he essentially committed shoplifting by literally giving them the shirt off his back to trade for the pendant without any sort of agreement with the store. Kid, you ain't Mean Joe Green, so that's not gonna work here. Though, according to Majorika, it could work with the Witches' World's economy, as magic spheres were actually traded based on personal value. Thus, while cash will have a fairly consistent value, sentimental items could be worth just as much, if not more, as Della assessed it after taking a really long time to make her entrance. Like, seriously, it took her about 20 seconds to start singing after her music started here. Lady, you gotta learn how to time yourself better with your entrance music if you want to make it in the WWE. Anyway, according to her assessment, the jersey was worth 20 spheres, which, I remind you, each of those spheres is worth 2,000 yen, thus totaling 40,000 yen or $400 US. Jeez, and I thought Gucci shirts were overpriced hipster garbage. I mean, they still are, I'm just saying. Realizing how much sentimental value the shirt held for Misaki, they couldn't bring themselves to sell it. Though I do question whether or not it's really worth that much, considering he just took it off and ran. I mean, I kind of get it, it's meant to symbolize Misaki sacrificing his happiness for the sake of someone else, but still, he didn't even turn around or show any sort of regret after he gave it to them. With that, Della took her leave and whoa, what's going on with her makeup here? Are uneven eyebrows a thing nowadays, or is she just trying to become Dwayne Johnson? But yeah, obvious animation error, which kinda matches well with the rest of this episode, but more on that later. Anyway, we quickly learned who he had gotten the pendant for, his older brother Daichi, who was on the same soccer team from the first episode. We also learned that Misaki was part of Pop's group of friends, and why his brother probably needed all the good luck in the world.
美咲の兄ちゃんって補欠だったの?
Well, every team needs one or two bench warmers. I was one of them. Also, great voice acting from this one kid.
なんだ補欠だったんだ。
What a story, Mark.
But yeah, Misaki didn't take anyone bad-mouthing his brother all that well. Kid, by any chance, is your guys' mom's name Karen? His brother's total lack of any sort of skills didn't help matters. Still, the little squirt kept on piling on the needless pressure, which led to this great sequence, admittedly.
うまくないと出られないんだよ。
うまいよ。
And then Daichi, understandably, snapped at the kid and tossed the soccer, panda pendant.
ひどいよ。あんな言い方しなくてもいいじゃん。
Yeah, no, I don't agree with this. While yes, yelling at his brother probably wasn't the best thing to do, you can't really blame him. Misaki, from what we've seen throughout this episode, has been acting like a total brat. He's been a shoplifter, prone to violent outbursts, and has been pestering his brother endlessly in the hopes that he'll suddenly become a better player. And that's not even getting into the resolution of this episode, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. Wanting to help fix the relationship between the brothers, the Ojamajo of course turned to their magic, specifically the stage, which they asked to let Daichi play in the game. At first, it didn't seem to work, which made sense. I mean, come on, not all miracles are possible. That is until... Oh, I get it. Those dogs are gonna kill those players, making it so that they have to put Daichi in. Yeah, by any chance, are any of you girls in possession of like a monkey's paw? Also, Doremi was so infatuated with Igarashi that she didn't even notice that he was in mortal danger. Is this girl on her way to becoming a yandere? Well, anyway, the point of brainwashing a bunch of dogs to chase the players was to get them to see Daichi training hard in private. The next day, having recognized his efforts, Igarashi convinced their coach to let Daichi play during the second half of the game. On a side note, nice bit of continuity here with the girl from the first episode sticking around after all she did for Igarashi. Not that it prevented Doremi from thinking she still had a chance with him. But yeah, the Ojamajo noticed Daichi warming up and realized he was gonna play. Thus, they flew off to try and find Misaki so that he could watch his brother play. They would have to hurry as Daichi soon entered the game and okay, what is this crap?
Hey! Some anime, there's been hardly any movement.
Yeah, let's just get this out of the way. The animation in this episode took a lot of shortcuts. I mean, as someone who uses the cropping tool a lot for his green screen effects, I can tell you it's really easy to use. Though, while I have the excuse of no budget, it just looks awful and incredibly awkward in animation, especially with these completely still frames. Looking into it, I guess I shouldn't have been surprised this was animated by my old enemy, Mitsuru Aoyama, and oh god, he's gonna be animating this week's Healing Good too. Now, to be fair, they did give us one fairly well animated sequence here where Misaki recollected when his brother originally gave him the shirt. Though as well directed as this scene was, it also brings up my biggest issue with this episode. Misaki's goals are deceptively selfish. At first, you could see him as a good little brother trying to encourage the elder to do his best, but here, we see that he has a very idealistic image of what he thinks his brother should be like, ignoring the fact that he isn't just going to become good overnight. It isn't about supporting his brother, but rather about supporting his image of his brother. As a result, he disregards everyone else's criticisms, including those from Daichi himself. I've said this before with the Pop episode, and I'll say it again. Kids need to have limits placed on them so that they don't become walking piles of avarice who try to force others to bend to their will, and yet stories like this kind of encourage that sort of behavior. I don't think I would have as many problems with this episode if they just told him that he should be able to cheer Daichi on whether he was on the field or the bench. Let's just wrap things up. So they repeated animation from the cold opener. How does Aoyama keep getting work? And Doremi found Misaki. She almost exposed herself as a witch yet again, but thankfully this kid had the memory of a flea, and they managed to rather easily convince him to go watch his brother's game. Because aren't kids so darn wishy-washy? Daichi managed to score a game-winning penalty kick with his brother watching, and later the Ojamajo returned Misaki's shirt. Daichi hardly reacted to the fact that his little brother tried to sell off his gift. And with that, this episode ended with the younger brother declaring that he would become a great and likely overly entitled soccer player, so yeah, pretty much like most professional athletes these days. Oh wow, I think this was the first legit bad episode of this series I've seen so far. I mean, the stuff with the Sokka brothers was just so full of broken Aesops, mostly due to Misaki never being called out for his poor behavior. And while there was a bright spot with us learning more about this world's sphere economy, I don't think it was enough to save a very poorly written and animated episode. When you really stop and think about it, what was the message of this episode? I think the one they were trying to get across was the importance of the bonds between siblings, but as I said, Misaki was mostly doing this out of his own desire to maintain an idol, not a brother. In the process, he was never called out for trying to force everyone to accept his brother as a great soccer player, including said brother. In fact, there's another unfortunate implication of this episode. If all else fails, just use force, as even the Ojamajo were guilty of this with the magical stage that got Igarashi to see Daichi's potential through the usage of ravenous dogs. And as if all of these bad morals weren't frustrating enough, the visuals here were just unpolished and incomplete sometimes. I understand prioritizing more plot-relevant episodes, but stuff like this is below even the bare minimum. About the only good thing that came out of this episode was that little bit of world building as we learned how the witch's economy was based off of emotions, which I'm sure will play into something later. But if it meant I had to put up with this little brat, I think I would have rather have read the wiki. If you want to see kids who are a little less insane than Misaki, maybe you should check out my upcoming top 13 Higurashi characters list. I'm gonna try and shoot for around a Halloween release, maybe not on the day itself because that's gonna clash with my weekly pre-cure review, but we'll see how it works out. And until then, though, farewell for now, my friends, and if you'll excuse me... Daisy, I'm gonna see if I can get some of this stuff appraised for Magic Spheres. Hey, at least I make sure to wash my stuff.